Be the Talk, episode 237, featuring Melissa Gurzenda. Welcome to Be the Talk. We go behind the talk 7 days a week for tips and techniques to help you change the world. I'm Nathan Eckel, and a talker myself. I'm interviewing others who change the world with their talk. You can too, even if you've never given a talk before. Let's get started with today's show. We are live with Melissa Gurzenda. Melissa, are you ready to talk?
I'm so ready to talk.
Melissa Gurzenda mentors individuals in acknowledging their own dignity with her first business, Identified Grace. Melissa is the executive director of Entrepreneurship Conference, BUNEEC. She is the president of the Community Activism Leadership Organization. She encourages service and entrepreneurship. Melissa Gurzenda, welcome to the talk.
Thanks for having me here.
Your talk is called The Simplistic Depth of Innovation. You gave that talk over at TEDx Bryant University. And I love your statement in there. Innovation isn't always about creating something far-fetched, but instead it's about creating something of value for people. And just for context, Melissa's team was trying to serve children in developing nations and tried to find a way to both light up the darkness so that they could learn and study. And she came up with all kinds of contraptions and ended up simplifying that and partnering with people. And you really learned a number of things about not just lean process manufacturing a little bit, but also partnering with people to give them that dignity. So please take us behind that talk. Just summarize it briefly, and then we'll go a little deeper in depth beyond that talk, Melissa.
Sure. Well, the talk was very vulnerable for me. I knew going into the talk that I was going to be discussing a topic that people might be afraid to talk about, because I was saying that you don't have to create something far-fetched, and instead you can create something simplistic, and that's not what we hear often. So I mentioned to people that in school, I've always been told to create something innovative. And to me and my peers, we were never told what that actually means. So we expected we had to create something big and grand and make ourselves look superior, when in reality, that was not the case, I learned. And after doing several prototyping and learning that it's more important about the value of your customer and not as much what will make you look the best. And so I just talked about that and went through my own story and really opened up about that.
Well, I love it because if you are in business, if you are in the startup world, if you are in lean manufacturing or anything like that, there's a whole movement. So like Melissa, I was also, you kind of read things in a textbook or you know, a casual blog or something until you actually start trying to create something. You don't realize the real key is to come up with an MVP, a minimum viable product, just one feature that nobody else has rolled out, not a whole bunch of fun little things like that. So what a great value lesson for you to learn. I was really impressed when you started talking about partnering with other people, that they need to have the people that you're serving, whether it's customers, whether it is people, in Africa. I've been off the grid in Africa and I've seen kind of the conditions over there. And I've also seen the way that it works best when you can partner with people and you can do it with them instead of for them, or, and include people as much as possible. Could you speak to that and what you learned?
Yes, exactly. So initially I thought I knew what these children wanted. So I was thinking, okay, as an entrepreneur, I want to create something that is really impressive. So I thought, okay, I'll create a desk for them because I knew that the students needed to bring a desk to school, a lot of these children, because they don't have the classroom supplies. And I also knew that there were faulty electrical towers. So I took those two facts and I put them together and thought, okay, we can make a light for them that doesn't require batteries. And I thought of all these different scenarios and said, let's impress people and invent something where as they're writing on the desk, that pressure causes the light to turn on. And I thought, okay, that's fun for the children. It's really neat. And then I stopped and realized, okay, did I actually ask an expert or go into this situation asking these children what they wanted? And then that changed the entire process. And I heard from witnesses who actually experienced this scenario and understood that they don't need the gadgets. All they need is a simple crankable lantern with a desk that's lightweight because they're walking miles and miles to class every day. And it's all those little factors that you don't understand unless you talk to those locals.
So just for clarification, so what you invented, it was almost like a strap-on desk of some sort. It was some kind of a surface that was portable that they could write on and practice on, correct?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So my other point that I got to get in here, good for you. You like killed the baby idea that was so neat and cool. How cool is that, Talk Universe? Be able to use pressure and generate light. That's so clever. And
it is clever.
The real point is that Melissa was willing to throw that to the side and say that's not really the point here. It's not the point to be clever and do really, it's kind of a selfish thing. It's like, I am so in love with this idea, whether or not it serves someone else at the end of the day. It's, I love the idea and I want to do the idea. And that's where it gets very dangerous. And that's a bridge that we all have to cross if we want to do something of value. So can you speak how, it really takes humility. It takes an others focusness to do that. But in your words, how would you describe being able to come to the point where you did that, Melissa?
I'll admit it was very difficult. And it was also very difficult talking about what I dealt with, because when you're inventing your first product, it's understandable to want to impress people. So to go beyond that and actually realize, why am I doing this, is so imperative, because once I realized why I was passionate about what I was doing, nothing else mattered. And I realized in the end, these children deserve to feel their own dignities. And I was going to do whatever I had to make that happen with my team. And it did not matter how embarrassing it was, because I was using an idea that was simpler, because it really didn't matter. And we created a product and these children are happy now.
We've been enjoying this conversation with Melissa Gurzenda. Her talk is called The Simplistic Depth of Innovation. And in a moment, we're going to be right back with Melissa in the Blitz Round. People ask, how could I start a 7-day-a-week podcast? It's because of what I've learned from my mentors. Some of the best mentors in history aren't around anymore. They've left hours of one-on-one mentoring behind in their books. Each month at Classics on Tap, I record a new chapter from a classic business book to help you make a difference. Download your first chapter at classicsontap.com. And we're back with the Blitz Round. We are talking with Melissa Gurzenda. Her talk is called The Simplistic Depth of Innovation. And I'm about to ask Melissa a series of either-or questions related to the preparation and performance of her recent talk. Melissa, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you a memorizer, an improviser, or a blender?
A blender.
How did that work for you?
I think it really allowed me to just tell my story and not sound as though I was reading off a monologue or something like that.
Awesome. What's a tip, tool, or a technique that helped you?
Be vulnerable. Speak about what makes you excited, because then the audience is going to get excited.
Were you a opener? Were you a closer? Or were you in between?
I was close to being an opener. Yes.
Oh, wow. So what, like number 2 or number 3 or something?
Something along
something
that.
like that. Okay.
Exactly remember.
What? No, yes. Yeah, I don't. Long time ago, but what's your advice for people that are almost at the starting point? How did you deal with that situation? How long was it that you knew or did you know that coming into it? What's your advice?
I was initially a closer, and then they changed me to being more towards the opener. So it was a drastic change, but all I thought about was, you know what you're talking about, and you're the only one who knows that, and you're excited about it. And the whole point of giving a TED Talk is to inspire people, and that's all that matters. So just go out there and help people explore your talk with you.
I mean, I would think that order, being towards the front, would be pretty fun. I was a closer myself, so it was kind of like if you ever been in a violin or piano recital or something like that. It's kind of like you try to enjoy the day, but you can't really kick back the way that maybe you could if you went already towards the front and then really reinvest in the day. Was it like that for you, or not so much?
The kicking back was nice because you dealt with it, and then you see everyone else nervous and you say, it's okay, you got this, it's really okay.
So you get to go around saying, hey, it's not that bad. Hey, it's not that bad.
Yes, you get to be the mentor there.
All right, here's the cut for time question, Melissa. What was the most painful part of this talk that you had to cut out? Because it was a pretty short talk, if I'm not mistaken. It was a very short talk.
Yes, they wanted it to be short and sweet rather than going into all the logistics because they wanted people to understand the point at the end of the day. So I would say the most difficult part would be trying not to talk too much about what the people in the developing nations needed, because people didn't need all of those details at the time, and it was more about the actual story. But I was so passionate about the actual kids and what they needed. So I originally had pages of just all the details of they walk miles, et cetera, but really it's about learning about innovation, really. So
for sure. And you cut out
knowing the topic.
You cut out a lot of those details because your talk was less than 6 minutes long, correct?
I think around there.
It was, I mean, I think it was about 6 minutes. It might have been even less than that. That is an extremely succinct talk.
Exactly. And it's difficult to be told that you need to shorten this so that people really understand the main point of your story and take out all of these details, but still make sure that you're coming up with a strong topic that's going to leave something with people.
Talk University, got to do it. We're so grateful that she did that, because that's when you cut that much out of the talk, it leaves a lot more on the table. That's part of what this podcast is about, getting those backstory details. So, here's a fun question. What was the most unexpected, strange, or just plain weird thing that happened during or right before your talk?
Definitely the lights on the stage. They make your mouth dry, which is something that I wish I knew when I was a TED talker. Because if someone had told me that, I don't know, I would have tried to resolve it, because I was there talking and all of a sudden the lights just really, I don't know, they affect the way you talk. And I wasn't nervous at all. So I knew it wasn't because of that. I was excited to talk to the people, and I'm talking mid-sentence, and all of a sudden I think, oh my goodness, am I going to just not be able to talk in a few minutes? Or, is this going to work out? So drink lots of water and somehow resolve that beforehand.
Well, and if you're on a team, if you're on a volunteer team, if you are a co-organizer, if you're an organizer, I raise my glass to you. Pun intended, because they're really, that's a best practice. Have an extra water bottle right there on the stage for every single speaker, because it does happen. Yeah. And it's not really the lights. It's that fight or flight thing that we all go through when we realize that everyone's looking at us, and, thousands of future YouTubers are watching us, and it really is a thing. So it really, my little advice to everybody, have some water there for everyone. So, we've been talking to Melissa Gurzenda. Her talk is called The Simplistic Depth of Innovation. And if you want to watch her talk, you can go to our show notes page at BeTheTalk.com. We will have a link right in there to her talk, and you can also connect with her on LinkedIn. We'll have a link right there to her LinkedIn profile. She's got a lot of amazingness left in her, ready to go. All kinds of product ideas, development ideas. If you are looking for amazing interns, if you are looking for amazing employees, Melissa is out there. You want to connect with her on LinkedIn. Melissa, anything I'm leaving out in terms of a website or whatnot? If not, we'll cut this part out of the podcast, but I didn't see a website.
I have a website for Identified Grace if you want.
Oh, well, that's why I'm asking. Yeah, please. We'll put it on the website.
Okay.
Yep.
It's www.idgrace, identifiedgrace.com.
All right. So Melissa's website is identifiedgrace.com.
Thank you.
And we'll be back with Melissa Gurzenda in just a moment for the final word of advice for Talk Universe. Everyone wants to change the world, but not everyone knows the first step. Before you can change the world with your talk, it has to be selected. So grab the templates, timelines, and tools that I use to get my talk selected at BeTheTalk.com. And we're back with the 10-second final word of advice for Talk Universe.
Be yourself, go out there, and do not worry about negative feedback you might get, because at the end of the day, you're passionate about it and people will appreciate it.
Melissa Gurzenda, thanks so much for joining us on the talk today and sharing your wisdom with Talk Universe.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Be the Talk. For tips and resources to help you change the world, go to BeTheTalk.com. See you tomorrow.